Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live stream. Once you can see me, there I am. Today, it is Thursday, the 15th of August, 2024. My name is CareyHolzman, and today I have a review I don't think anybody's done yet. And this is a very cool laptop from our friends over at AceMagic. Now, I realize some of you have a bad taste in your mouth from some of the news that you've seen earlier this year about AceMagic having a contractor that was installing malware on the PCs. AceMagic has, of course, once made aware of that, removed that contractor and is doubling down with regards to their efforts and values in order to earn your trust back. And I unboxed this earlier and ran a full Malwarebytes scan on it, which took about 2 hours. And I'll show you this screenshot. It is completely malware free. This is a brand new product. It's not released yet, but it's coming out at the end of the month. So they're taking pre-orders for this. That's basically $500 off. And what else was I going to tell you? Well, they're working harder to gain back your trust, which means they're coming out with innovative products unique to the industry. They're selling them at incredibly low prices. And the example I like to give is LG. We're all familiar with LG TVs. They have a pretty good reputation. But back in the day, LG, which stands for Lucky Gold Star, was a company called Gold Star. And they used to make what we considered back in the 80s, and yeah, it was the 80s, really inexpensive, cheap VCRs. It was considered not the best quality, but a really good price. And eventually, they built up their quality and their reputation, and now they can command a much more premium price for their product based on the reputation they built. I have to say, despite the fact that Gold Star products back in the day were considered cheap, they weren't necessarily considered bad. Now, AceMagic's in a similar position where they're building a brand. When you've built up a brand name like Sony, you can charge a premium price for a product because it has your brand name on it. But when you're just starting out, or when you're a smaller company establishing yourself, how do you convince consumers to buy your product? You can't sell at the same price. You can't offer the exact same thing unless you're really digging down in the price. So you've got to offer better products at better prices and unique products bringing to the market that nobody else has. And then in time, if you continue in this process, you will become a household name. You know, there was a time when Amazon was only known as a rainforest in South America. Now Amazon is a household name. And what's interesting is you can go back and look at early interviews with Jeff Bezos when Amazon was only selling books. And Jeff Bezos said, well, he was losing money every year. And Jeff Bezos said, that's part of the business plan. And the interviewer was confused, like, how does that work? And Jeff Bezos said, Amazon is going to sell everything. Anytime you want anything, you're going to think Amazon. It's going to be a household name. This is how we get there. It's pretty strange to me. Nobody replays that interview today. But you can find it here on YouTube. And he called it. He did it. And you can find interviews where investors are like, hey, you're blowing their money. You're losing money. You don't know what you're doing. Everybody says this is not something that they should invest in. How do you respond? And Jeff Bezos is like, this is all part of the plan. Everything's working exactly like it's supposed to. And very rarely do they ever go back and re-interview. Like all the people, 60 Minutes, the television show here in America, did an interview with a Y2K, a year 2000 prepper. The end was coming. He had a cabin in the woods loaded with all kinds of food rations and things. He was ready, and he explained what was going to happen. It never happened. In the news, they talk about constantly, from time to time, $5 a gallon gas. It's coming, it's coming. It never does, or very rarely does. And rarely do they go back and re-interview those people and say, how do you feel about your prediction? That was so completely wrong. So AceMagic got knocked down. They definitely needed better quality control process, but it's not something that they did. A contractor did it. And they should have kept a closer eye on the contractor. Okay, but now they're aware of it, they're fixing it, and they're working harder than ever to gain your trust. And to do so, they're coming out, as I mentioned, with innovative products at extraordinarily aggressive prices. And I think you're going to be amazed by what I'm going to show you today. We'll have a long-term review on this, by the way, so we'll see how it holds up over time. But for right now, let me show you what's in this box. There's not a lot in here. This is the X1. I've just kind of repackaged it more or less the way it was originally. And we have a laptop. Okay. In this box here, we have some documentation, which, you know me, I'm not going to read it. And in this box over here, there's only one thing in here, and that's our power supply, which is a USB Type-C power adapter. That's it. Pretty simple. Not a lot of other items to deal with or worry about. So we're going to put all this back, and we're just going to set this down over there. Now, we've seen plenty of laptops. We've reviewed many. We've even reviewed some very inexpensive from AceMagic. Some laptops from them that are, you know, like N100 based, essentially mini PCs that are under $400. I think they started around $350. This is a $1,500, $1,400 laptop. And I'm going to explain, I'm not even going to explain, I'm going to show you why. And it's $500 off right now on a pre-order if you want to pre-order it. It's relatively small with regards to screen size, which makes it more portable. And if I bring it up to the camera and show you, you'll notice it's a little thicker than a lot of other popular laptops. Not quite as thin. And you'll also notice it's got this weird thing hanging off the side. What the heck is this? Okay, well, when we open this up, if I find the front of it, what you see in front of you is a laptop with two screens. And these screens can be used either side by side, or you can disable this screen and only use this one. For example, if I wanted to bend this all the way around, for example, maybe I'm on an airplane. I don't have room to open it up that wide. I can disable that screen and just use this one. Or the other way around. Or let's say I'm sitting with a customer at my desk and I want them to see the invoice as I type it up. They can see the same screen I see without having them come around the desk or me turning the laptop back and forth. Or just for general work. This is not a gaming laptop, okay? Let's be clear. This is for anything but that. And I think the most common use is going to be in dual screen mode. Okay. What are your thoughts? Tell me what you're thinking right now. And while you do that, let's boot it up. I did charge up the battery. I went through all the Windows updates. I ran Malwarebytes, and I did a Crystal Disk Mark score. And then what I haven't done is I haven't opened it up to see what you can upgrade or how easy or how difficult that is. We're going to find that out today. So right now you'll see we're booted up and we've got the one screen activated, and there are buttons. There are 4 buttons that you don't normally see on a laptop. I've never seen them before, that are below the screen here at the top of the keypad. A is your A monitor. This is your B monitor. So if I hit B, you'll see the B monitor turns on over there. Next, we've got this button here, which shows 2 monitors side by side, and that is extending our desktop so we can go back and forth on an extended desktop. And finally, the button closest to the power button here. When we press that one, that's duplicating both monitors. So for example, if I were to flip this around so a customer could see what I was doing, and there are magnets on this side that keep this monitor attached Now, this is not a touch screen. This is not a tablet or a two-in-one. This is simply a laptop with two screens. Okay. What do you think? What do you think of this idea? And then we're going to look at the specifications and the price and tell me that that's not a good deal. While we're waiting, I can bring up the Malwarebytes results. Like I said, I ran that off camera because it takes a while. Go full screen on this. These are our Malwarebytes scan results. Anytime a content creator is showing you a scan result, take a look at the scan time. If the scan time is in minutes instead of hours, they did a quick scan, not a thorough scan. I might have the screen too bright. The camera's having a hard time. 0 detections across the entire thing. Believe me, AceMagic won't make that mistake ever again. I mean, they're still recovering from that. That was a big blow. And it wasn't anything, as I mentioned, that they did. It was a contractor. They don't work with that contractor anymore. And now they're trying to reestablish trust. All right, so that's what's going on. They didn't do anything on purpose. They're a victim as much as you and I in that scenario. But the benefit is now you and I can benefit from innovative products sold at a bargain. Okay, now the specifications of this machine. We're looking at, well, tell you what, let's just go to the website. We'll look together. Let me turn on my capture page, which is right here. And let's see how AceMagic is promoting this. Window capture. Okay, you'll see it's called a business laptop, right? It's not intended for gaming. And this is just a promotional page, and you can sign up for more information. And they go through a bit about, the screen. How's that hinge going to hold up over time? We'll have to let you know. Let's see. Just kind of scrolling through their marketing materials here. And let's go to the sales page. So this is where you would order the laptop if you wanted it. There's the normal $13.99 price, pre-order price $8.99. But what do you get? It's a Core i7 12. Oh, I'm too far away from the screen. My eyes. It's a 1255U, so 12th gen with 16 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte NVMe solid state drive. That is a Gen 4 solid state drive according to my tests. And I'll bring up the Crystal Disk Mark tests. And I believe there's a second M.2 slot in there that's empty that you can use to add more storage. We'll verify that here soon. Just scroll down. This looks like basically what they showed on the promotional page, except, we got this graphic that's pretty cool. That's the hinge. It's a really clever hinge, the way that it moves and bends so that the screen can sit flat the opposite side. I've never seen a hinge like that before. AceMagic is not paying me to make this video. I'm just genuinely enthusiastic whenever I deal with new tech. They did send the product for free in exchange for a review, but there's no stipulation or contract as to what I can or cannot say. And my thoughts are my own, and my beliefs are my own, and my enthusiasm is also my own. I just think it's really cool. It's unique. It's a DDR4 dual channel RAM. Now it says PCIe 3.0, but I think this is wrong because according to my tests, we were running at PCIe 4.0 speeds or Gen 4 speeds, but we can check it live if you'd like. I've already saved the results in Crystal Disk Mark, but in case you're skeptical and you want to see me run it again, I'm more than happy to. Now, keep in mind, I have a pre-production model, so things could change, but I can't see them going down. I don't think there's a webcam on here. Is there? Oh, there is a, yeah, it has a webcam. We're going to check all this stuff out. In fact, let's do this. Let me open up the browser and say, test my webcam. Webcam check. Let's go here. Click here to allow access. What do I have to do? Waiting for your permission. Oh, I see. I have to give it permission. That's a good thing. That's the wrong webcam. That's grabbing my capture card. You know why? Because I pulled up the website on the streamer instead of pulling the website up on the laptop. So maybe I should try that instead. Let me grab the capture card. Not the capture card. Let me grab. Hold on a second. Where's my HDMI cable? This laptop does have an HDMI out, but it won't show. I don't believe it shows monitor 2. I think it only shows monitor 1. But let me plug the laptop into the capture card. Let me turn the laptop around so I can see it and you can see it. We'll go back over to camera 1 here for a second. I just wanted to show you the website, and all the links that I'm showing you are in the video notes below the video. Let's see. Let me move over here. Let's go to camera 1. Here we are. So I'll do the same thing. I'm going to bring up a browser. I'm going to say test my webcam. Webcam test. Detecting your media devices. Webcam was detected. Let's go to, let's see, we want HDMI input so you can see the laptop screen. Okay, there we go. I'm getting my act together. Click here to allow access, okay? Allow. The light just came on the laptop, went off for a second. Webcam test, test my webcam. Okay, here I am. Seems like it's working to me. So yeah, there's a little blue light that's on the laptop. Camera 1. And right around here, when the webcam comes on, there is a blue light. Can't see it with all of our bright studio lighting. Let me cut the lights and see if you can see it better. Really hard to see. Let's just bring it up to the camera and I'll show you. Looking to see if there was a privacy shutter. I don't see one, but it does have a light right here that you can see when the web camera is on. So nobody is going to turn that on without you knowing. And of course, without a shutter on here, likely the best way to, if you're interested in a privacy shutter, is to just put something over the camera when you're not using it. So I suppose if I had an issue, it's a shame that they didn't give us a privacy shutter. But that's all right. That's not a big deal. Like I said, if somebody's going to turn my webcam on, I'm going to see the light. So let me close this out. And let me go back over to the capture page here, and we'll take another look at our Malwarebytes scan so you can see it much clearer now. Scan time, 2 hours and 2 minutes, 405,000 items scanned. We were able to get through the Windows out-of-box experience as we normally would, along with not having to do the bypass NRO on this. It has the option to say I don't have a network connection. And it is 23H2. So kudos to them for modifying the installer the way I do. It's the only modification I make to the Windows installer. And you can do that automatically with a free imaging tool called Rufus when you make your media, installation media for Windows 11. We take a look at Crystal Diskmark. These are our results, and you can see 3841 puts us pretty much in the low range of Gen 4. They're saying it's Gen 3, but I've never seen Gen 3 run any higher than 35 or 3600. And the write speeds, well, those are Gen 3 write speeds, but just for grins and giggles, let's just run that one more time. Now, I did not do my full Carey optimizations on this laptop. I tried to keep it as pristine as I could for today's video, but just wanted to get the time-consuming items out of the way, like Windows updates and malware scan results. So we're pretty consistent here, right around 3,800. So I suppose it could be Gen 3. You know what we can do? We can run Crystal Disk Info. As I mentioned, this laptop has an HDMI port, a USB 3 port, Type A, and then 2 USB Type Cs on the other side. That's really important to me. My Dell XPS, let me just tell you, I stopped buying Dell XPS laptops because they're supposed to be for creators, yet they only give you USB Type-C. You only get 3 of them. And if you want to plug a flash drive or an HDMI cable into it, you've got to use an included adapter that plugs in. If you forget the adapter when you travel, too bad, so sad. In my opinion, a creator laptop should have at least one USB Type-A port so we can use flash drives, and an HDMI out so we can plug into projectors and such. The fact that Dell XPS has been doing this 3 or 4 years now, I don't buy them anymore. That's why we changed brands and went with the Samsung Galaxy Book 3. But that's a $3,000 laptop. So is the Dell XPS, the way I have it all situated, configured. This is a third of the price. And honestly, it would do everything I need it to do. The screen is smaller. I usually go with a 15-inch screen. I think 17 is too big, 13 is a little too small. This looks like about a 13, but that also keeps it more portable, especially when you've got 2 monitors. You don't have to lug around a portable monitor separately. It's all built into the laptop. You can choose to use it. You can choose to turn it off. If I hit the A button, it shuts that off, and you wouldn't even know without close inspection that that's a monitor and just not the back of the screen. So let me put that back. That's not the way I want it. I want it that way. Okay, so Crystal Disk Info will tell us what generation it is. Let's find out. Let's go back over here to our screen. Just be PC testing software, Crystal Disk Mark Portable. We'll drag that out. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted Crystal Disk Info. This one right. That one out. And this will tell us. Because I'm guessing that just feels like Gen 4 to me. If not, it's one of the fastest Gen 3s I've ever seen. Kingston Drive. Yeah, we're at Gen 4 here. Gen 4, just as I suspected. So if we want to replace that drive, we certainly could with something much faster. Perhaps, that's part of the reason they can get the price down so low, because we could almost double that speed with a modern Gen 4. Even the Feijing 2 terabyte drive would probably be an ideal upgrade for this. Now, let's go to System Properties, right-click, go to System. What I think is interesting, and I'm a little critical, or I'm a little bit concerned about what I feel is a little hypocrisy. They say this is for professionals, that this is for business. But when we look at the specifications, 12th gen, 16 gigs, all right, that's all fine and well. But when we scroll down, we've got Windows 11 Home and not Windows 11 Pro. Now, it seems to me if you're going to market this to pros, you should put the Pro version of Windows on it. It's a minor nitpick, but one that I find a little bit confusing. On one hand, you're saying this is for professionals, but on the other hand, you're installing a home version of Windows 11. So I kind of feel like you got to pick a lane. So the Pro version probably doesn't benefit most home users whatsoever. But if you're a professional and you need to have things like BitLocker or virtual machines or logging into a domain as the primary concern, you will have to have the Pro version of Windows or use third-party utilities for things like BitLocker and virtual machine. But as far as logging into domains, there is no third-party utility. You have to install Windows 11 Pro. Let me scroll through the chat here and see what you guys are saying before we go on. By the way, let me just walk over here for a second. A little birdie told me Don't tell anyone I told you, but I hear our friend Peter Laycock, we call him Buster. I hear it's his birthday today. So if you see him in the chat room, please be sure and shout out a happy birthday to our good friend Buster, watching us there from Scotland. Happy birthday, Buster! Let's see. Hello to Ray Gallagher and Gil Garcia and Mark Baggett and Trevor Schweitzer says good morning from Australia. David Graham says hello. I also see Tubular Kronk saying hello. There's Andy Kane and Scott, Dustin Fuller, and Luke Greenia. Of course, Mara's joining us and doing all the hard work there in the background. That's Marsman50 saying hello, and John Williams says hello and says the system that we sent him is running great. That was the Cyber Geek Mini PC. So good to get updates from time to time on how it's what it's like to live with these machines we're reviewing, and don't need daily updates, but every once in a while, just a reminder: hey, still have it, still works, or don't have it, doesn't work, or fan went out, or it's making noise, or whatever it is. What's it like to work with? Or to live with? And John Williams has said it's still working great. So I appreciate the update. Mark Gaines, joining us from Northern Ireland, says hello. Sam F2000 said it's an interesting laptop review. Dual screens is a new idea. And look how affordable. Think how much just the screens cost. Just think about that when you're calculating the price. Chris Johnson saying hello. There's Dan Nilsson, Patrick Manny, Paul Howe, and Thomas MacT. Gerardo Quintana-Roo, now a member for 27 months. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being members and supporting us here. William Bird says hello. Captain Blinsky and Dave Batt say hello. Our friend Frankie B, joining us from New York, says hello. Welcome in, Frankie. Mark Leibowitz says, wow, I just looked at the AceMagic site. That's one cool-looking laptop. William Bird said he got a G7 PT for minis for him yesterday, and I blame CareyHolzman for that. That's more money than this one, but very different thing. Very cool, though. Let me know what you think of, when you had it and you have when it's in your possession and you have some time to work with it. I'd be interested to hear your honest thoughts, pros and cons on that. Just like everything else I review here, people that invest their hard-earned money into something and they have to live with it day to day is very different than getting a product for free, reviewing it for 2 hours, and then moving on to the next thing. So I love to hear feedback from actual owners, not hearsay of what other people said, but actual people who live with it and rely on it. Those are the people whose opinions matter most to me. So we'd love to hear updates, good or bad. Mortant renews membership, now a member for 27 months as well. How did we get to 27 already? Holy cow. Thank you, Mortant. He says hello in the chat room. There's Joe Martin, Trevor Dunn, Anthony Pete, and Jack Kugelmis all saying hello. Essential Working Too Hard joins us and says hello. Yeah, I don't see Buster in there. I don't see Peter Laycock. Guys, sometimes I get so distracted with what I'm doing here, I can't see what's going on here. If you see him, please shout a happy birthday out to him. All right. What should we do next? It is Gen 4 NVMe. Good. 12th gen processor. Good. You're not dealing with the 13th and 14th gen nonsense, which wouldn't affect a mobile processor anyway, but that also helps keep the price down. Not sure on the battery life. Obviously, if you're using two screens, the screen is the thing that eats the battery the most on your cell phone or your tablet or your laptop. So having two screens, I'm not sure how that's going to play out in reality. I have not tested battery life on this, but whether or not you're just using one screen, whether or not what you're doing is rather passive, like browsing the web and watching a movie, or if what you're doing is more intensive and resource intensive to the computer, which of course needing more power to do more resource intensive tasks is clearly going to affect the battery life on any device on any device, period. So the screen is overall, and generally speaking, the thing that eats the battery the most on any device. The bigger the screen, the bigger we can put a battery in, right? The smaller cell phones versus the bigger ones have bigger screens and as a result also have bigger batteries because they can put a bigger battery behind the screen, the space the screen takes up. So here I think it's a nice compromise. The trackpad and the keys, the keyboard feels really good to me. The trackpad's not the large, giant trackpad like I say Dell's been using. Even the Galaxy Book trackpad, I think it's too tall. I like that this is rectangular. It's long and narrow. I very rarely use the trackpad for anything other than regular scrolling and clicking. I know that there are special gestures you can use. I'll use the 2-finger gesture to scroll up and down without having to use the elevator bar. That's the only gesture I use. And I always go to the bottom left corner for left click and bottom right corner for right click. Even if all you have to do is tap it, I always push it down until I hear the click. That's just me. I'm old school that way. Maybe if I was using one of these every day as my primary machine, I might change the way I use the trackpad. A lot of people don't like them. And that's okay. You can always add a mouse, a wireless mouse, Bluetooth mouse, or wired mouse. In fact, we have the world's smallest mouse somewhere here. You want to see the world's? This is like, I don't know if it's like the world's smallest wireless mouse. This is the little pouch it comes in. It's wireless and it's super teeny tiny. This is off topic, but I just want to show you. You might say, hey, you know what? That's useless. It actually is quite useful. You look at it and you think, not a lot to this. Probably not easy to use. Probably not comfortable. Let me bring it back up to the camera because I didn't show you the little USB wireless dongle is attached to the bottom there. You can take this with you to travel. And just to give you an example of how this works, just right quick, let's pull the flash drive out. Let's grab the dongle that's attached magnetically here. We'll slide it into our USB type A port, which again, on the Dell XPS line, you're not getting type A port. You have to use an adapter first. And then, how do I turn this on? Is there an on button? Yeah, there's a little on switch on the bottom. And now I can move it around and check this out. Let's go over to our screen capture one more time. Put my glasses on so as I can see. And I have great precision with this mouse. It's very easy to use. It fits in my hand quite well. And I can go wherever I want to go. There's our Malwarebytes setup. This is not a struggle whatsoever. It's actually surprisingly easy to use. And something like this, if you can't stand the touchpad or the trackpad or whatever they're calling it today, very, very handy. So I bought it as more or less a joke, but then I was like, hey, this is actually really good. It's got a battery that's rechargeable, so you would just plug it in to a USB Type-C port that's hidden behind, the dongle. When you look at this, the dongle was on the bottom, and when I took the dongle out, you'll see there's a USB Type-C, and you can charge it that way. I'm not sure what the battery life on it is because I haven't been traveling, so I would use this absolutely when traveling, and I want to bring on as much luggage as possible. And we'll have Mara add a link for this mouse in the video notes because I didn't know I was going to show that till just now. And of course, you can just use a regular traditional wireless mouse or even use a Bluetooth mouse if you want to. On the other hand, oftentimes when I'm traveling, the trackpad or touchpad is good enough because I'm only using it temporarily. If I had to use it every day, I'd probably go with some kind of wireless mouse. Oh, it's not Peter's birthday today. It's the 29th. What did we say it was? It's the 15th. It's the 29th. Did I make a mistake? Hold on. I want to check this. That's my mistake. Looks like that's my mistake. On the 29th. I screwed up. This is what happens when you give me information too early. I jump on it. I'm so excited and enthusiastic. So you can still say happy early birthday to him between now and the 29th. That'll be a fun little prank to pull. Oh, wait, he watches this. Well, we could still do it anyway, just for fun. What's wrong with having a 2-week long birthday? I don't see any problem with that. Trevor Dunn wants to know what the refresh rate on the screen is. Fair question. You know, I never pay attention to refresh rates. I'm not sure if that was on the website. Let's take a look. We go back over to the HDMI input, and I'm not sure if the HDMI input is going to change our options, but we can see what options are in Windows. That may be one place to start. Let's go right-click, Properties. No more options. Display settings. And 1 and 3. So 1 is the main monitor on the laptop. 3 is my HDMI port. Advanced display information. We're at 60 hertz now, which is pretty standard. Looks like it goes down, but it doesn't go up. I am curious, though. Let me see what happens. If we go back to camera 1, and let me unplug the capture card. Still only offering 60 on the display, which is, you know, pretty standard. But again, it's not a gaming laptop. Let's see. We go back to, let's go back to the product page here. Not sure if it said it or not. It may be something that they can add. This is certainly helpful to them if, you know, like it says Gen 3 when it's really Gen 4. When we provide this information to them, they can, they appreciate it, so they can update the site to be more accurate. Let's see if it says anything about the screen, not the resolution, but the frequency. Supports 4K screen casting. 5 gigabits per second transfer would be, I suppose, the USB. Yeah, here's your ports. 5 gig USB, 3.0 type A port. Our HDMI 2.0 supports 4K at 60. Then we have a type C port that's used just for charging, and a type C that also will do a display output. So you could have 4 monitors on this, the 2 built into the laptop, the HDMI, and the display port type C, all running simultaneously. But when you're running just the internal screens or the built-in screens, let's see. It does give us the frequency on the HDMI 2.0, but not on the built-in. So I'm going to guess they're probably running at 60. And we might, and I'll leave them a note. See here, it says PCI 3.0 times 2, meaning there's 2 slots, 2 M.2 slots. Are they both 4.0 or is one 3.0? We can find out later. Yeah, the specifications on the screen just isn't there. So we'll let them know. We appreciate that question. That's a good question. Again, I don't mess with frequency ever. Whatever, as long as it's at 60. Anything less than 60 may have a flicker to it. And generally, that's a question asked by gamers. Mustang West says, wow, that's some hinge system. Yeah, take a look at the hinge close up. Wait till you see how it works. It's pretty interesting. If I open this up, so the screens are side by side, let's bring that real close. And you'll see there's like 3 dowels here. I think they're metal. And when I close the screen, now let me go back this way. I'm trying to hold this and film it at the same time. Watch the hinge when I bend the screen back. Watch what the hinge does. Not a straight hinge anymore. Now it's like shaped like a letter U. And then when we want the screen straight out, it's really hard to hold the laptop and do this. Then the hinge straightens out so the screen is completely straight and they can be side by side like that. Yeah, that's pretty neat. And then when you're done with it, you'd simply, just as a reminder, reversing the opening, we'd just simply close it. Close the lid. No one would know there's anything special or different about this laptop other than the hinge, which I'll bring up again so you can see close up. That sticks out right there. But at least it's folded up. It's not sticking straight out, so you don't have to worry about it catching on anything. That's my dongle for my keyboard and mouse right there. You're not going to be able to open this one-handed. It's got a pretty strong spring on it, so you'll need to hold the laptop down. Am I opening it right? It was very difficult to do backwards. There we go. There we go. Bring it across this way. There is a little pull tab here, and it holds on with little magnets, which, you know, if you get it close to like some wire ties, will it stick? Yeah, there's a magnet there. All right. Mara says the link to that funky mouse is in the notes. Thanks, Mara. Mustang West became a supporter. Right on. Welcome in to the Tech Club, Mustang West. Eugene Ildago says hello from New Jersey. Welcome in, Eugene. Let's shut this down and let's take the bottom off of it and see how upgradable it is. Is the RAM soldered in? I don't know. So let me sign in real quick. It went to sleep on me. And I will choose to shut down. Okay, shutting down, and I'll tell you when the light's off. Now, pretty fast shutdown, but you know, it's what we would expect. We have a little gold emblem sticker on here. Can't quite read it. Maybe you guys can read it. Get up to the screen here. It says a stay hungry, stay happy, stay foolish. Can't see. Do you have any interpreters? That's a weird saying. You know, Google, what was it, Google or Facebook would say to their employees to break things. Let's break things. Elon Musk would say, let's take out anything we don't need to build this car, for example, the Tesla. And if it breaks the car 10% of the time because you took out something you shouldn't have, that's good. So they want to see you removing something that you shouldn't have removed. So now we know we absolutely have to keep that. I love that type of testing where you're basically, you know, Elon Musk will talk about with Tesla how they had certain processes that were difficult on the assembly line. And he was trying to solve that issue and then stopped for a second and said, why do we even do this? And the people said, well, that's because of the safety team. So he talked to the head of the safety team and said, no, we didn't do that. That's the engineering team. So then he went to the engineering team and they said, oh, that's there to prevent the batteries from vibrating. And Elon's like, well, why would the batteries vibrate? So do we really need this whole thing anyway, this whole process that we're having difficulty solving? What if we removed it altogether? Let's not put this foam in here. Let's just put the batteries on the tray and let's test drive the car. Let's have a bunch of people test drive it. Does anybody hear any vibration? No? Okay, get rid of that part of the assembly line. Get rid of the machine, get rid of the material, the inventory, get rid of it. What else can we get rid of? I love that attitude. So maybe that what did it say? Stay hungry. I'm looking in the chat to see if anybody was able to read it better than me. Stay hungry, stay foolish is what I think it said. What a bizarre saying. Okay, let's see. Is this easy to get into? I have no idea. Let me pull my dongle out of there. What do we got? Let's take a quick look at the bottom here. This looks like it opens like the other AceMagic laptops, which were super easy to get into. We've got some very small screws, 4 across the top. Got 1 in the middle, and then probably 4 across the bottom. When I say the middle, I don't mean the middle here. I mean the middle here, between. So 4 there, 1 on each side, 4 down there. Then it should just come off. So one of the things I've liked about AceMagic laptops is how easy they were to get into. I hope that hasn't changed. Turn the overhead on. Let's see if this will work. Could have the batteries charged. Let me bring this down. Down. Come on now. Way down. And let's straighten it out. Something like somewhere around there, I think, is in the ballpark. Let's go to the close-up camera and see how close I got. Hey, not bad. Not bad. Not too shabby. All right, let's try this. Definitely need my glasses on for this tiny work. That screwdriver seems to fit perfectly. This is a small jeweler's driver. Looks like it's a Phillips, whatever that number says. And we're going to focus. Anyway, it's a jeweler's driver, jeweler's screwdriver. All coming out nice and easy. I like that. Now with some laptops, sometimes the bottom piece is clipped in. It really bothers me when they do that because those plastic clips are very easy to break and you can't see where they are when you're taking a laptop apart for the first time unless somebody's made a YouTube video showing you the close enough detail And with the AceMagic laptops we've worked on so far, nothing's been holding the, oh, there's a magnet right there. That's interesting. Nothing holds the back on but the screws. What would happen? Well, the magnet right here can hold the screw on for me. Watch this. This will be fun. Oh, no, didn't mean to do that. Did you see that? The magnet just grabbed it and pulled it. I could do this all day. Cool. All right, back to work. The things I do to amuse myself. Why is that screw silver? Hold on a minute. This screw right here is different from all the others. What's going on? It's always the last screw. Why is that? That, maybe that's just a piece of tape that indicates whether or not you've opened it. Maybe that's all that is. Let's see if we can push through the, you can remove the tape. That's what I think that is. It's just tape. Yeah, that's all that was. We get that off of there. Now, in the United States, you are allowed to open your and work on your electronics. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, guarantees you the right to be able to work on the stuff you buy without voiding the warranty unless you did something to break it. So if you ever see a warranty void if removed sticker, those are not enforceable in the United States. They can put the stickers on, but they cannot enforce that rule. But if you damage it, that's going to void your warranty. But just opening it and removing the sticker will not in the US. Your warranty is still your warranty. Now, how do we get this off of here? That's the next question. All the screws are out. I think you just want to feel under here for any additional dips that might be a screw hiding underneath. Everything feels solid. So at this point, probably a spudger tool, something to get into the seam and pull this up is what we need. So I'll grab my, I have an iFixit spudger, which is my favorite spudger. Not because it's iFixit, but because it works well and it happens to be made by iFixit. The problem is I set it down. Here it is. I can't find it. All right, this is my spudging tool. This is metal, but it's a bit thicker than other spudging tools. So it's got some strength when you want to bend it up instead of just bending the metal, which is what a lot of the cheaper ones do. And then there, of course, there are plastic ones that are meant to sort of deteriorate as you use them. So you typically buy them in packs of 6 or 10 or 12. Whereas this, you're just going to buy this once and keep it. However, it's maybe too thick. Can't seem to get it under there. So I might need to use a thinner spudging tool. Let's see. So again, the problem with the thinner ones is they're very flexible and they may not have the strength needed to lift up on the parts you're trying to separate. And I don't want to damage or cause any marks in the edges as much as possible. Not that anybody would ever see that, since that's the part that faces down, but that's just part of my OCD. That's just part of being me. Now, usually in the corners, there's typically some pretty strong clips on these. Did I not take the last screw out? What? No, okay. We removed all the screws, right? It just seems like it's a little more difficult to get out than I expected. Need to get something under there. See what else we've got. Again, I could force it, but I don't want to. Trying to go super gentle. So here's a pack of the plastic spudgers I was talking about. You'll see they sell them, you don't just buy one, because they're meant to, almost like a tooth flosser. You use it, and then the end wears out, and you just toss it in the trash and go to the bag for another one. I'm just trying to find a spot where I can fit this. Sometimes when you look around the edges, there'll be a little cutout. So we're going to figure it out. We've never worked on one of these before. We may be the first YouTube channel reviewing it, so we're on our own. This is, we're right back to the 80s again, 1980s. Good luck, kid, you're on your own. All right, just like my childhood. Great. I'm used to it. Boy, that spudging tool will not get in there. There's got to be a space here so I can get into. See the corner. You see the seam. And on other AceMagics, these just lifted right up. There were no clips holding it in. Let's go back this way a little bit. Got to be a way in. I will find it. Just want to make sure there's no other double seam or anything. This does seem pretty obvious to me. And this side, right here by the hinge, looks like it's got a bigger gap. But even this spudging tool seems to be too thick to get into that gap. I would think this metal one is the thinnest. Like if one was going to get in there, how do we get down past that? That's the question. I wish that had some kind of way to pull it up. You know, some kind of a pull tab or like an indent in the plastic, a slot for the tool to go. Some laptops do have that. I don't think there's going to be any screws under these rubber feet. I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised if there was. I think just based on the other AceMagic laptops, these were basically the same location. If you go back in the video and look at the other reviews of the two other AceMagic laptops, we opened them both, and the back came off pretty simple. Just not sure where to start with this because the seam is awfully tight. That is really tight. Just can't help but wonder if I can grab it with my fingernails and just pull it up. Yeah, there's definitely I feel like something else is holding it in. Shouldn't be this difficult. I can't help but wonder if there is something underneath these feet. It wouldn't make sense for the screws to be so close together. That doesn't follow any logic as far as I can tell. I can get my fingers back behind this. I can pull it up, but it shouldn't be this difficult. Now, I don't know if that's because of plastic clips or if there's a hidden screw. You hear that cracking? I don't know if the microphone picked it up. That's typically the sound of the clips. There we go. Got this corner. Okay, so now you can see once you get one corner started, right here, you're in there so you can see. Then we should be able to go along the seam pretty easily here. You may be able to just pull it up, although when you just pull it up, you do risk damaging the plastic clips. So let's see. Pulling it up this way is faster. I'll try and be gentle. I will say the other models of AceMagic, I don't think had any clips. This one does. And then we'll take a look at where the clips are. So if you buy one and you want to take it apart. But bear in mind, we do have wires attached, okay? So right here, we have our speakers. which are kind of strangely attached to the lid versus attached here. Here's our battery. Let's disconnect these speakers and get them out of the way for a second. Okay, here we go. Now we're cooking with gas. It appears our RAM is soldered in. So 16 gigs is all she wrote. That's all you're going to get. So if they offer a version of this with more RAM, I would pay the extra money, even if you think you don't need it. There's no way to add any more RAM. This white box is where your RAM is, and as you can see, that's soldered in. We have two fans here. You can see the heat pipe. Likely the CPU is underneath here. We've got our large battery here, which looks like it's very easily serviceable, replaceable. Lithium-ion battery pack, and those details there for you. There's our NVMe drive. There's a slot for another NVMe drive to go right here. Here's our Wi-Fi card. We can switch out to Wi-Fi 9 or 10 if we want to later on. And I wouldn't go any deeper than this on this. I wouldn't completely disassemble it. There's really nothing on the other side that we could service. But it's good to know, much like the other AceMagic laptops, the battery is easily removable and replaceable. It's one of the things that wears out whether you use it or not over time. All batteries do. If I grab a Beijing, I'm just curious, if I grab a Beijing NVMe and move it to this other slot, then we can use a Cronus and clone it over to here. I'm curious what difference that makes in our performance. Let me look at the shelf here and see if I have any more of those. Of course, any good brand is going to be pretty darn fast. Let's see here. Do I have a Gen 4? I've been using them like crazy. This is a Western Digital Black, but it has a heatsink on it, so that's going to be too thick. Those are Gen 3 Samsung 970s. Those will be too slow. I want Gen 4. Gen 4. Come on, Carey, you got to have a Gen 4. Bear with me for a second as I'm going through some inventory back here. I thought I had these organized. Apparently not. Samsung 980. Is this Gen 4? No, that's a Gen 3. Western Digital Black has a heat sink. I think. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. Let's find out. These are brand new in a box. They're just on the inventory shelf, and I'm hopeful. Check one more area. That's a Gen 5 drive for a future build. Can't use that. Don't mind me as I'm talking to myself. Okay. So this is advertised as a gaming drive. It says it's 4 terabyte. I'm just hoping there's not a heat sink on it. I don't know why I have this, if I'm honest. Is this a 4 terabyte drive? It says 4 on it. All right, I guess that's what we're using. Welcome to live video, folks. Trevor Dunn said he just noticed the laptop is 20 volts DC and not the usual 19. Oh, that is interesting. We'll have to look at that a little closer. Where's the power adapter? I don't know if you guys can read it. Not quite sure. I can't read the specs. You guys can read it better than I can. But those are the specs on the adapter for whatever that's worth. You wouldn't want to switch adapters around anyway. All right, where was I? Oh, there's no heatsink in here. Fine. It's fine. I've got 2 screws right there waiting for us, but I need a bigger Phillips driver for that. I think. No. I have to go smaller? Can't be right. No, it's definitely not right. Maybe I'm just in too much of a hurry and I need to slow down. Yeah, sounds like that's what the problem is. Okay, let's drop this 4 terabyte Western Digital in here. Now again, I don't know that these are both Gen 4. I would hope they are. Keep in mind, when you put a faster drive in, it could overheat in here because the only ventilation you've got on the lid on the back is just over the fans here and here. There's really nothing to help cool your SSDs down. And if you want to go fast, you could run into a situation where your drive becomes so hot it starts to throttle and slow down, in which case your slower drive would be faster in that scenario. Something to think about. I don't want to put this all the way back together, but I can at least put the bottom back on and hook the fans back up. Around this way. Because I might just pull this right back apart again. I'm not sure yet. I need to go that direction and put this connector on right here. Again, these are our speakers. Interesting. I really wish something secured those. All right, whatever. Don't want to let our wire get trapped under there. There is a space by the battery for this. It really should be taped down or something. They should have done a better job with that. Now, maybe they will. Maybe this is still a, like I mentioned, a pre-production model. Just click that back down. There we go. And then we'll turn it back on. Only this time, when I turn this on, I want to use our friends over at Acronis. They give you 30% off any of their products. And I use Acronis all the time. And this would be an example of, a customer buying this and saying, hey, would you upgrade the drive for me to something bigger and faster? So I have a flash drive that is a rescue disk that I make. And I use it all the time when it comes to backing up or cloning drives, replacing a smaller drive with a bigger one or a slower drive with a faster one, mechanical to solid state. We can go any direction we want to go. Let's plug that in. As soon as I find the USB port, I'll open this back up. It's to the left, my left, face when you're looking at it. And then this is the power button right here, which is also a fingerprint reader, by the way. It's my understanding. I don't use fingerprint readers, but I guess you could use that to log in if you password protect your login. You don't have to remember a password. So when I turn this on now, it's coming up. I'm going to hit delete a bunch of times and see if I can get in the BIOS. Okay, so as for the BIOS, I don't know that the screen capture is going to be able to grab the BIOS. Sometimes these HDMI ports only work. It's interesting. Sometimes the HDMI ports only work when Windows loads. See what happens. So the no signal that you're reading. Hold on a minute. Something's not right. Plug this in. Lost my BIOS screen. It was there a minute ago. Let's try it one more time. Turn the laptop off. I'm going to turn the laptop back on again. I'm kind of curious if that HDMI cable will show the post screen or not. Yeah, it's not showing it. So that's pretty common, by the way, that, go back to camera one, that the HDMI port is simply not enabled until the Windows driver loads. But you can watch what I'm doing if I just do this. So clever. All I want to do is go over to where it says boot. And there should be a boot overdrive. Yeah, it's a boot over. I forgot the word I was going to say. Override, that's the word. And you'll see down on the screen, if you can see it, it says boot override down at the bottom. We're under the save and exit part of the BIOS. And it should see our flash drive. It says Unify OS on a SanDisk 3.2 Gen 1. That's our flash drive. I push enter, and just for this boot only, it should be booting to that flash drive. And that should load our Acronis rescue disk. Let me get this camera out of my face. Turn that off, and we'll come back to this when we need. Okay. Acronis is loading. Now we got the Acronis screen up. I'm pretty sure our HDMI input's still not going to work. Yeah, still have no signal coming out. Again, it's going to need a Windows driver. That's pretty common. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top and choose Tools and Utilities. Clone a disk right here. Automatic is fine. I hit Next. Disk 1 is a Kingston. That will be our source drive. We don't see disk 2 because it's not partitioned or formatted. Therefore, it could not be a source drive. Does that make sense? Acronis knows this, so it doesn't even offer you complete empty drive because it wouldn't make sense for you to want to clone that. Hit Next. And now it's going to look around and see where potential target drives or destinations could be. And this could take a minute depending on your system and configuration. And, you know, Acronis does a lot of the hard work and decisions for you where other cloning tools don't. Sure, there's other cloning tools out there, but to me, they're not as consistent. You don't generally get support with a lot of them, especially the free ones. And right here, I do see disk 2 not initialized. That's our Western Digital NVMe drive. I select that as the target, hit Next. It's going to replace a disk on this machine. Hit Next. And this should only take a few minutes. It's much faster than reinstalling Windows from scratch. And proceed. We're off to the races as it's starting to clone. Mark Liebowitz says the website says the M.2 drive is Gen 3. I understand, and we've already discussed that. Maybe you missed that part of the discussion. I believe it's, well, according to Crystal Disk Info that we've shown, it's Gen 4. AceMagic has had errors on their website before. It's not uncommon. And this is on pre-order. It's not a released product yet, so there's still time to fine-tune misspellings or omitted information or incorrect information. They're human beings, so it's not a big deal. It's also possible that as it was originally being designed, it was Gen 3, and then as they manufactured it, for some reason, it made more sense to go Gen 4. So whether that's just a human error, they hit a 3 instead of a 4, simple typo, or whether or not the original plans called for that, and now they've changed since production. We've seen that with Minis Forum, where they had a 1 gig Ethernet port, but it was shown on the website with a 2.5. And when I wrote to the person that's the PR person, they're not the engineer, they're just the connection between me and Minis Forum. They talked to the engineers and said it was originally designed with a 1, or it was originally designed with a 2.5, but the pre-production models, in order to expedite them, for whatever reason, they had trouble getting the chip they needed for 2.5, so they just threw a 1 on there and, these out for review. And they said, rest assured that everything they're selling matches the website. And that was Mini's form. With AceMagic, we've seen errors on their website. It's not uncommon. And that's why I say they really appreciate when we help them out like this. They do listen to us, and they do take to heart what we evaluate and what we tell them. Okay, the disk was already cloned, so we'll click OK, and I'll close this out. I mean, at this point, we just need to turn the machine off. So I'll hold the power button down until the machine goes off. I'm going to remove my bootable rescue disk from Acronis. We'll set that aside. Turn this back on. Look how easy that was. I'm going to go back into the BIOS, and this time I'm going to tell it to boot to the Western Digital. Normally, I just go ahead and pull the Kingston out, but I'm curious. We turn this back on and just tell it we want to boot to the Western Digital. I go back over to save and exit, boot override. There it is, boot manager, Western Digital. Now we should be booting off of our new Western Digital drive. That should be the C drive, and the Kingston should be the D drive, if I did it correctly. Let's find out. It's a little confusing because it's a clone of each other. You probably don't want to have the clone still plugged in. It can create some confusion. So right now I'm getting a please wait with a big circle going around. Not sure why. Give that a minute. Do whatever it's doing. I don't know what it's doing. Having two bootable drives and selecting between them, it can cause problems. So I probably should take the Kingston out. Let me try this again because it just blue screened. Let's try the other Western Digital Boot Manager. It shows two of them. I don't know why. So I selected the top one. That had a problem. Selected the second one. Hopefully, Windows pops up. Just got a black screen. There can be some confusion if you have two drives with the same system ID that are both bootable. That's probably where the issue's coming in. So again, normally I would take the source drive out to avoid exactly what we're seeing here. So let me just see if the HDMI input's doing anything. No, still no signal. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna shut this completely off. And in fact, I don't want to turn this over on the screen because that could potentially scratch my screen. So we'll close the screen up to protect it. And this does have to be sort of tilted back a little bit. The magnet's grabbing onto those wire ties. So we can close this without hitting anything. Grabbed a wire tie. That's hilarious. All right. I guess I can leave that. Now let's unplug it. Should be able to just pop this back out. Once again, there are clips. Yeah. And I'm just pulling on it very carefully. Get past where all the clips are. Watch that cable that's over here, right? Yeah, there's a cable here. There we go. And I'm going to take the Western Digital out, which is over here. Sorry, not the Western. Taking the Kingston out. Wow, I'm just full of mistakes today. All right, stay foolish, they said. Just doing what they said. I want to put the M.2 screw back in so I know where to find it. We'll close this back up. I don't think I want to click it shut. I do see where the plastic clips are there. Let's just set it in place. That's good enough. Now I don't have to go into the BIOS and tell it to boot anything special. It will do it all on its own. See what happens. It'd help if you could see it too, huh? Let's see. Trackpad is not working. So apparently the trackpad needs a driver that hasn't loaded yet. So I'm gonna have to use the keyboard. I'm gonna just say continue by using the arrow keys and the enter key. I don't know why the trackpad didn't function there, but see what happens. Trevor Dunn suggests we have a secure boot problem on the clone drive. You know what? You might be exactly right. You might be exactly right. Usually, Acronis will warn you if it detects encryption, right? Because it can't clone that. But when it comes to secure boot in the BIOS, it may be necessary to disable that before the clone. Let's see. Yeah, it could be a secure boot problem. When this goes smoothly, it's much faster than a reinstall of Windows. When you start having difficulties, not so much. Let's do this one more time. I'm going to go into the BIOS. I can probably disable secure boot. .3200 speed memory, okay. Trusted computing, security device support. Let's put disable on that. That may be just for TPM though. Any of them. Secure boot. Oh, it's down here. That's what I want. Secure boot mode. Let's turn that to disabled. Probably want to turn the TPM back on. So under trusted computing, I'm going to put that back to enabled. So we want TPM on. Now let's save and change, save and exit and see if those changes help. It might be a little too late. Probably something I should have done before I cloned it, but let's just see what happens. Let's go to troubleshoot. Options, startup repair. I don't know. I've never had startup repair ever actually repair anything, but I keep trying it. I feel like it's just a cruel trick on Microsoft to see how gullible users are. I keep falling for it. I'm so hopeful. Maybe this will fix it. No. So I'm not sure what's happening here. However, what I would do in this scenario, because in my line of work, time is money, right? I don't have a lot of time to sit around and play with stuff. So what I would do is I would go back to the security here, back to secure boot, and I would go back to enabled on secure boot. And then save and exit. Just let that save and exit. And then I'm going to get my Windows 11. I mean, after all, it's a brand new install. It's a brand new drive, rather. Let's just put Windows 11 on it real quick, because at this point, I think I can achieve that faster. Because I need Windows up so I can run Crystal Disk Mark and verify that the other slot is also Gen 4 and that we see the over 7,000 read speeds. That's a lot of work for something most people probably won't even notice a difference of in real world life, real world use versus benchmark use. All right, so we're going to go back into the BIOS, back over to save and exit, scroll down to the boot override and select SanDisk Extreme, partition 1. That is our Windows 11 boot flash drive there. And we'll just wipe this out. Now, I could always clone this again with secure boot off. and see if I have better luck with it. But honestly, I know this is going to work every time. And I don't know why my trackpad isn't working. I feel like I wonder if I've disconnected something at the bottom. The trackpad's at the top, though. It should have no impact. So times like this, always good to have a little portable mouse available. This may not work without a driver, though. What I do with the dongle. Set it down, didn't I? Dongle. Where did I put it? I should have put it back here. I know I remember taking it out. Where did it go? This didn't help us at all, so we'll put that away. Let's see. Where did I put it? Well, it doesn't matter. I can't plug it in anyway, right? I only have the one USB type A. But I need to find that and put it back. Or the next time I want to use this. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I was going to say the next time I want to use this might be quite sad, as this would be useless without the dongle, as would any wireless keyboard or mouse. All right, forget that idea. Never mind. I must have unplugged something to deal with the trackpad, but I don't know what it is. I'd have to turn it around and take another look, turn it over and take another look. So we're going to test my keyboard skills. And we'll just do this by keyboard for right now. And then when it's done, I'll flip it back over. Got to be some little cable I've unclipped or something. We'll find out here in a minute. This is interesting. Windows setup. Your use of this software is subject to the terms. And again, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work. Let's see. Windows is going to happen. All right, so accept the terms. We want to custom install. Delete all these partitions. Tested my keyboard skills. See, who needs a mouse? Not me. All right, we're off to the races and we're installing. And while it does that, let me get a cold Gatorade because I'm getting a little thirsty. We're about 90 minutes in to a 2-hour, what I'm hoping is a 2-hour broadcast. I'm just trying to get some test results. And stuff like this, I would hate to do this off camera because I think that's good video right there, you know, getting the look on the inside, seeing how the work is done, not just looking at results. Better. Okay. Check my phone while we're waiting here. Everything's quiet. Good, good, good. All right. Let's do this. Mara, if you wouldn't mind, while we're waiting, let's open the chat up for everyone. And be ready to shut it off if people are getting rude. But let's open the chat up right now, temporarily, and see if anybody watching has any questions for me regarding this laptop. Thank you, Mara. El Hedge says hello, welcome in. There's Wayne Ellison saying hello and Jose Lopez. Dwayne Blackwelder joins us. Okay, so now everybody can chat. Let me know if you have any questions with this regarding this laptop. While we're waiting for our Windows 11 install to finish. The other thing that's interesting about doing a Windows 11 install is just to look in the device manager for which drivers you're going to be missing. Now, we can cheat a bit by just using a NVMe dock and pulling the drivers right off the previous install. And I do have a video that shows you how to back up your own drivers using a free utility built into Windows. You don't have to use Driver Booster. No, relying on that third-party software, I think it's a crutch, it's a bad idea, and it's unnecessary. Why put software on your system you don't need to have? So use it if you want to, but you'll never see me using it. Maybe in the past, but not now. These utilities, a lot of them are just built right into Windows now. They're just not very well known. That's the problem. Like Microsoft has a program called PC Manager. And if you look in our video library, I've reviewed this and brought it to your attention, got to be 18 months ago or more, while it was in beta. It's a great little utility, and I recommend everybody use that instead of, say, something like CCleaner. Now, I just noticed we got a blue screen there. So that's very interesting, because on a clean install, I wouldn't expect that. But I also can't help but wonder if it's tied in with this trackpad not working, that maybe I have dislodged something during the disassembly. And this is a symptom, not the cause. Let's take a look. Let me see what this says. The computer restarted unexpectedly or encountered an unexpected error. Windows installation cannot proceed. To install Windows, click OK to restart the computer and restart the installation. Okay, with that information, let's click OK here. Same exact message again. Interesting. Interesting. All right, I need to take the back off of it and look again to see if I have disconnected something. John Williams wants to know, will it matter what slot the NVMe drive is during the installation of the operating system? Normally, like on a desktop computer, it wouldn't matter. The computer can boot to USB, it can boot to, any number of drives that you tell it to in the BIOS. Anything's possible, right? But that wouldn't be standard. It shouldn't matter which NVMe drive slot we're using. With the computer off, let me fold this back over, pull out my USB drive here, the HDMI cable. Until Windows loads, that's useless. This up. Let's take another look. Let's see what I've missed. I'm missing something because trackpad should still work unless I've disconnected it unknowingly. Remember, the trackpad's not even on the bottom. The trackpad's on the top, so it seems unlikely anything I did would affect that, but clearly it has, okay? So no matter how much it doesn't make any sense, it's because we're lacking some information. We're lacking a little bit of education. And this is how I learn best, is to get my hands in there. I know it worked until I messed with it, so it means it's something I did, which is why they put tape over the stick, the sticky tape over this last screw, so you don't get in there, do what I do. So the trackpad, I believe, is under the battery. This wire should just be for the speakers. Let's move it. I mean, why not? This is an early model, and I can't stress that enough. Sometimes when you get an early, sort of a first production model, so you got to check these ribbon cables. It's stuff like this that gets unplugged unknowingly. Make sure that those ribbon cables are in. They put this M.2 screw back. Hey, Mitch Morrison joins us. What's happening, Mitch? We're going to move the NVMe drive to the other slot. It should not make any difference. But what it should do and what it does do may be two different things. I'm just looking around for some kind of connector that would explain the trackpad not working. This is going to be your hinge screws, fans, our RAM, our drive, our Wi-Fi card, and our battery. It's all pretty simple. Trackpad's under the battery. There'll be a connector probably underneath this tape for the battery and maybe the trackpad. I don't know. There are magnets here and here. And there's another one. And it looks like the magnets maybe are for the speakers. But I can't see why opening this lid would have that effect. This is the only connector I took off. Sure I put it on correctly. You know, I did not have that connector all the way in. But as far as I know, that was speakers only. But, you know, what do I know? But having a connector that's partially in, making it somewhat of a connection, can cause all kinds of weird problems. So the screen, the way it's tilted, affects how we can fold that back. Sometimes the screen's tilted too far back, you know, when we try and open the screen, it hits the table. Same as it's the opposite when we close it. See if we have any better luck. I have no idea. Why would that have anything to do with the trackpad? I don't. Yeah, I still don't have a trackpad. Interesting. I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to go back to, let's turn the machine off. Go back in the BIOS. And let's select restore defaults, just in case we've changed anything mistakenly. Save and exit. Let me put my Windows 11 drive back in there. We'll try this one more time. It shouldn't be this difficult. As it restarts, I need to go into the BIOS again and do the boot override. So right now I start pressing delete multiple times. Use the right arrow key to go to boot override and choose SanDisk Extreme. SanDisk Extreme is the flash drive. And then that should start our Windows 11 setup. We'll do this one more time. Gilman 2000 says some laptops need a special driver for the trackpad. You know, it's possible, but it does make installing Windows quite difficult. The good news is, because we're playing around, I still have the original NVMe drive. It's unaltered, and I can always pop it back in. That way, if any drivers are required, they're still on here. You never want to erase your original drive for some time until you're absolutely certain. I noticed there's only 3 partitions, which means this was trying to boot into legacy mode for some reason instead of UEFI mode. And it may be that I'm choosing the wrong boot partition on the boot override, because there's a legacy partition and a UEFI partition, and that determines which version of Windows you're going to get. So let me delete these. Oh, for some reason I'm in the driver mode. Get out of that. Let's try this again. Install. Accept the license agreement. Custom. Okay, it left our, there we go, next. Let's see what happens. So while we're waiting once more for Windows to install, and again, if I'm choosing the wrong partition, I believe I'm choosing the right one. This could be all on me, quite frankly, and my lack of familiarity with this particular product. And that's how you learn. We're not breaking anything, just inconveniencing ourselves. All to get a faster drive that, again, probably will make very little difference in actual use versus benchmarks, but yeah. Almost just put the old NVMe drive in and see if it still works. Oh, I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure it will. I haven't, I'm still learning, right? This is, it's like you're trying to get to dessert and we haven't finished our meal. I feel like as a kid, you know, I always look forward to dessert, but as an adult, I kind of look more forward to the meal. And the dessert, I can take it or leave it, but the meal, that's not negotiable. Right now, I'm in the middle of a meal. And until I'm finished, then I'll go to dessert. I'm sure that's going to work fine. But I'd like to know what I'm missing or what I'm doing wrong. I feel like there's a lesson here for me. And if I just take a shortcut, the only person I'm shortcutting is myself. Tension? Anxiety? Why? Normally a very simple procedure. This process doesn't normally take this long, so I'm kind of curious what this machine is doing. Chad Williams is very anxious to see what happens. Yeah, this normally is just a standard reboot. I hear the fans cranking up. It's doing something. Here we go. Rebooting again. I love that you can see what I'm seeing. I think that's so cool. I think it was loading drivers. That's promising. Hello. Now, does the trackpad work? No, it does not. Okay, to the keyboard. Skip that. Don't have internet. Continue with limited setup. I'm just hitting the tab key until the box I want has a little line around it. And then I hit enter, or spacebar sometimes works. See how the box moves around? So in this case, if we hit it enough, it starts over again. So I keep location on. I hit the spacebar, it goes to no. It's actually kind of faster this way. Just using this finger and thumb, tab, space, back and forth. Might have found a better way to do it because I was forced to. Yeah, maybe there's a driver that's needed for the touchpad or the trackpad, but that would be highly unusual. Douglas Burchell said this is what happens when we men play with our toys. Well, look, if I break it, it's all in the benefit of the audience, the thousands of people that watch this, right? So at least I have that excuse. I did it for science. I did me with science. Science. Is there a mouse switch? No, there is not a mouse switch. This laptop's switch free. Says we're almost there. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Now will HDMI work? Trackpad. Yeah, I got nothing. Let's go over to HDMI and see if that's working. Why is my HDMI input not working? That is a weird one. Let's look at tab. Settings. You know what? I don't need this anymore. Where's my little travel mouse? Give me that bad boy. This should be what I need right now. It wanted attention today. I'm going to get my little travel mouse. This isn't planned. I had no idea that this was going to happen. But it just so happens, we'll use this travel mouse. Yay! Okay. This is what I need. Let's go over here, right click, go to device manager, see how many drivers are missing. Oh, a whole bunch. We have a whole bunch here. And I don't think the camera is catching it very well. So I'm going to show you how to cheat. We've got the old drive right there. The old drive had all the drivers, still has all the drivers on it, right? So all I need is an NVMe USB dock. And you know, I just so happen to have one. Wouldn't you know? And perhaps Mara can add the link for this. This is one of my favorites. I have a few of them, but this is the one I keep going back to. This is the, and there it goes, Graugear docking station for NVMe. NGFF is just another word for M.2. Next generation form factor. SSD, solid state drive. All right, I know there's a lot of Greek in there. It's just a simple little USB dock. It's relatively inexpensive. It's extraordinarily useful. I'm about to show you. So open this up. Love shooting live, so you guys get to see this. This is the little tube, you know, for airflow. We're not going to use it. This is how tiny it is. It's USB-C. We have a USB-C over here, don't we? In the box, we should have a USB-C to C and a C to A cable, if I'm not mistaken. What is this? C to C. It's exactly what I needed. USB-C, which we plug in. I'll just bring this up close so you can You can see USB-C in the NVMe SSD. You see? Pretty simple little device. Got a little cooling fan that blows air up. The NVMe just sits down in there like toast. Plug that in. Okay? Rocket science. It's not rocket science. Line the notch. Put my glasses on for this. I don't want to break anything. Pop that bad boy right in there. Kind of wiggle and push down. And so your NVMe drive, you know, there is a notch, it only goes in one way, and you're just going to sit it right in there. You can see it's in there pretty firmly. And you can put the glass tube around it to concentrate the air if you need to, but we're not going to. Oh, one other thing I want to draw your attention to. There is a little power button right here. See, it says power. So we have one other step we have to do after we plug this into USB Type-C port here. Now we turn it on. It lights up blue. I just heard the computer acknowledge. Hey, you got something USB. Now here's the fun part. Using my mouse in the display manager, or sorry, in the device manager, I'm worried that you guys can see some lights. Just don't know that you'll be able to see this. That's why I like my capture card. Can I lower the brightness maybe? All right, well, I'm going to do my best here. We're going to go to Add Drivers, Browse. We're going to go to the Windows on the D drive. Click OK, see if it finds anything. Seems like it's finding a lot of stuff. It's just going through the whole Windows directory on the external drive and adding any drivers it finds that are in the device manager, including drivers it already has, but the drivers, if they're newer, it'll replace them. Instead of doing them one by one, just at that top row underneath where it says help is where I've clicked. And you'll see the option for adding drivers. And then you just browse for the directory of where your drivers are. And it'll search that directory and all subdirectories. So I didn't have to choose the Windows folder. I could have said it was just the D drive and let it search all the folders. It'll just take a little longer. And that's a lesson for you today from your Uncle Carey. I'm still trying to see if I can get this to... I don't know. You guys can tell me if you can read it or not. Trackpad working? No, still no trackpad. I really feel like that trackpad should have been working this whole time. We'll get there. You'll see the blue light is blinking on and off on our dock. And that tells us that there's activity, there's reading or writing activity. So you don't want to interrupt this process. You don't want to disconnect or remove the drive while that LED is blinking. That's a good way to corrupt or damage your drive or corrupt your data. You might get lucky, but the best thing is to wait until it's true of flash drives that have LEDs. Usually the LEDs flash or turn on and off when there's any activity to them, meaning you're reading or writing data to them. Sometimes I've seen some backwards flash drives where the LED is on, and then that means it's idle, and as it's writing, it turns off. It's the opposite. But that's where you can use the safely eject hardware option if you're not sure. So it's a relatively large directory it's going through. And the USB port, I think it said it was just 5 gigs per second. It's not a USB 4, 40 gigs per second. The device itself is capable of USB, let's see, what speed can this do? This device can do 10 gigabits per second. So what is that, USB 3.1 or 3.2? Then I think 3.2 Gen 2 is 20. Then, yeah, something like that. I think this just went to sleep on me. It did. Let it keep going. Keep in mind, this entire video, we've never plugged the laptop in. We're on what started with a full battery charge. So we're also kind of testing the battery life as well. Jason Wyrick says, next generation form factor is SATA and not NVMe. I appreciate that. Is that, I thought NGFF was another word for M.2, but you're saying NGFF is another word for M.2 SATA? I do believe this is compatible with both NVMe and SATA. So if that's true, that explains a lot. Yeah, I've seen NGFF and M.2 thrown around a lot, almost interchangeably, but I've never seen it specify that it was just SATA. But I believe you. It makes sense. Trevor wants to know if I can show how I managed to look for all the other drivers. So at the top of the device manager, under the you'll see File, Action, View, and Help. And then beneath the text, you've got little boxes. And all you have to do is hover your mouse over each box for just a second or two, and a little text window will pop up and tell you what that button's for. And I think it's the second button from the right, if I'm not mistaken. But just hover over it, and one will say Install Drivers. And I think you'll find what you're looking for just that way. Unfortunately, I can't. The HDMI is still not working. Check it again. Yeah, we still don't have any HDMI out. And it's still scanning for drivers. So we're going to just let it keep doing that. Now, it wouldn't take so long if I was more specific with the folder I wanted it to look in. However, I'm just kind of being lazy and taking the easy way. Normally, I wouldn't sit here and watch it. Like once I realize this is going to take a while, I could start laundry. I can bring the garbage cans in, take the garbage out. I can do a million different chores around the house, the dishes, check email, check my text messages, et cetera, and then as I'm walking through the room in my chores, I just glance over, is it working? Done. When it's done, it'll wait for me. So this is very unusual for me to sit here and watch it. However, it's easier, right? I'm doing less work. I just set it to say, here, you do it. It goes, okay. If I did it, it'd be faster. Maybe. If I did it, I would probably go and get the drivers manually from the AceMagic website. With the screen going black, either it went to sleep. Yeah, it's going to sleep after like 3 minutes because it's on battery. I can edit the power settings while we're doing this. On battery, let's set the screen to never time out. Plugged in, we'll set the screen to never time out, just so it won't keep doing that to us. Well, set to 5 hours. That's fine. That's fine. I love this little mouse. I mean, I bought it as a joke. I didn't know I'd like it so much. It's pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to use this every day. It'd probably cramp up my hand. It's so small. But if I was traveling and I was in a hotel and they give you that little desk to work at, I'd grab that in a second. I didn't think it would actually be useful. Okay, if you have any questions for me, now is the time to ask while we're waiting. Oh, I just heard a beep. Something USB just loaded or changed. And again, I bet that's the capture card because the screen blanked out. I bet you Let's see. There it is. Ha ha! Yes. Yes, indeed. So that I heard the typical, you know, when you plug a USB in, you get a doo-doot. And when you unplug it, doo-doot. Different tone. I don't do it very well. And then when the screen went black when it did it, I knew that was video related. That was clearly the driver needed for the HDMI to work. And so the installation icons that I was referring to for the drivers, I can lower this a little bit. See right up here, see how you have these settings, little pictures? Hover over each picture. I think it's this one. It's not going to bring it up for us right now because it's running. But that is to install all drivers. That one, right? Right there. But if you just hover over each one of these for a second and leave the mouse alone, take your hand off the mouse, if necessary, you'll notice a little pop-up that comes up and tells you what it is. It's been there the whole time, by the way. Douglas wants me to try the trackpad. Trackpad is working. Look at you, Douglas. Look at you go. Apparently, the trackpad needs a driver. That's pretty interesting and unusual. So that means I can unplug my travel mouse. And I will put it away for next time. V says there's no drivers yet for this product. Yeah, because the product's not released until the end of the month. So there's no drive. No one should really need the drivers until the product is sold. Not all drivers were successfully installed. That's fine. Let's see what happens here. Wants to restart. We're a little over our time, so we're probably going to wrap this up here right quick. I just want to run a quick test on that Western Digital drive and see what our speeds are going to be. We've got a 4 terabyte NVMe drive right now. The system is booting. It's just that the HDMI is not enabled until Windows starts, so bear with me for a second. I've got the AceMagic logo with the spinning toilet flushing that indicates Windows loading. And should just be a second as it finishes whatever it's doing with the drivers here. I suspect that's what the delay is. Oh, I got a blue screen. Interesting. I'm going to turn the machine back off. Let's go back to camera 1 since this isn't very interesting for you to watch. There's my blue screen, and we're going to restart again. I hope it's not trying to start from this. That would be bad. So I just unplugged the USB dock here, just in case. Might have been trying to load from that. That is a bootable drive. Oh, so all the buttons on the top that control the screen, those are going to require some kind of drivers. But let's go back now and take another look. Right-click on the Start menu, go to Device Manager. Everything's in there. So there's got to be some software that controls these buttons so we can turn the screens on and off. What I'm curious about, if I right-click and go to my display properties, does it see the second monitor? Yeah, it sees all of them. So we should be able to duplicate the desktop on, let's see, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3. What if I want 1 and 2? Duplicate the desktop on 1 and 2. Keep changes. Why is it not letting me move the mouse? Duplicate on 1 and 2. And then the trackpad goes away. Interesting. Can't select anything. Nothing's working. Weird. And then it times out. And then we're back. So I guess we're going to need the software, apparently. All right. Well, let's get to the test anyway, so we can wrap this up for today. And obviously, this laptop is so special, it's going to need some special drivers. I mean, that's to be expected. If it was the same as everything else, we'd probably use the same drivers as everything else. We're going to go to USB drive, see testing. I'm going to grab Crystal Disk Mark. Oops. Grab that and drag it out. We can also grab out Crystal Disk Info. See what it does. Western Digital, 4 terabyte drive. Just check that one more time. We'll go to this PC. Yeah, there's drive C, 3.63 terabytes free. See what it does. I am a little concerned a drive like that might get too hot. So if we get really high read numbers and really slow write numbers, it's because the drive is throttling. Let's see what it does. 6824 is a big improvement from what did we have, 38? So we almost doubled it. Trevor Dunn said the add driver option seems to be a Windows 11 only item. Windows 10 does not have that option. You can do that with a command line in Windows 10 or 11, which I've shown in, if you look at the video notes of my driver video, it's a short video about drivers. It'll show you what the command line is. You don't have to do each driver individually. I typically do because I like having control. But if you want to just slam them all in there, there's a PowerShell command for that. Zvi wants to know, did I install the operating system to the Western Digital on the slot the original drive was? No. Well, yes. We moved the Western Digital drive to the original slot. So you can see we are definitely getting Gen 4. So the question would be, if we move the drive, will we still get Gen 4 speeds? So we'll just let this test complete, and then we can switch the drive over to the other slot and run the same test, get our results, and end our video for today. I think that's going to be it. However, I want to emphasize this is a sample, a pre-production model, and I don't think much is going to change. Clearly, they've got a mistake on the website regarding the Gen 3. It's really Gen 4. You should know that the RAM is soldered in, and it's unfortunate it's only available as 16 gigs. Not that that's terrible. I mean, for most Office professional use, like people running Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, browsing the web, open PDF files, 16 gigs of RAM is plenty. But for anybody that's more of a power user that wants to use this in a way that's more resource intensive, would probably be better off buying a more powerful laptop designed for that kind of use. I would not buy a sports car and try to use it as a four-wheel drive vehicle off-road. It's not designed for that. I wouldn't say the sports car is crap because it won't do what I want it to do because I bought the wrong car. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's some responsibility on the end user. But it'd be nice to have the choice to go to 32 gigs, and maybe that will be added in the future. You're going to see more and more soldered on RAM on many PCs and laptops and portable devices. It's cheaper, it's faster. And we just ran into a blue screen for some reason. Which, you know, is it because the drive got hot? Is it because the driver's missing? We didn't have any blue screens with the original install until we started messing with it. So I want to reiterate that as this machine reboots. Dustin Fuller renews membership, now a member for 27 months. Right on. Thank you for being a member for, wow, 27 months. That's awesome. All right, so the question is, and again, I don't know why it just rebooted here, and it's probably driver related. With the dual monitors, Like I said, I can't switch between them properly right now without whatever the driver is they're using. But we saw the numbers, right? We saw the 6600 or whatever it was. So in an attempt for me to try and get this video done, let me bring camera 1 back up here and switch that drive to the other slot. And then we'll try this one more time and see if, I think the results should be the same regardless. But what I think and what reality is, maybe 2 different things. That's why I always emphasize to you guys, don't assume, unless you know firsthand experience what the results of your, what you think is going on before you make a claim, prove it, verify it. I think I broke one of the little plastic clips off. I see a little piece of plastic here on the desk. And you know what? I'm okay with it because they don't need to be that tight. The screws are going to hold it in place anyway. I could have been a little more gentle with opening it. But you know what? As this thing ages, that plastic's only going to get more brittle. That's more likely going to happen. I'm assuming that's what that came from. But just right quick, let's just move the drive. Because the drive is in the slot the original drive was in. These drives are double-sided, and this is creating a little bit of a fitment issue. It's in there awfully tight because it's 4 terabytes. So the drive's a bit thicker. But let's put it in over here instead. See that both slots are Gen 4. See how that one's springing? That one didn't spring at all. I wonder why. Yeah, something's different with that slot. Don't know why. This one feels much better. See what I'm talking about? I hope the camera's picking that up. Not hard to find the place to lift the screen up. There is a little lip here to open the screen. That's super easy. Back on. Nothing up my sleeve. Here we go. John Williams wants me to check if activation is still active. I believe the product key is in the BIOS on this. So it should automatically reactivate. You notice when we installed it, never asked us what version of Windows we want to install. I don't know if you caught that, but that's an indication that a product key was found in the BIOS. Okay, now I'm back to my trackpad not working again. That's bizarre. No, just blue screened on me. I think it's blue screening because of a driver related problem. However, until I test it, I really don't know for sure. The best way for me to test it is put it back before I started messing with it. Put the drive back where it was, boot the machine up, go through the same tests, and see how it performs. Now I'm assuming it's going to reboot, but I'm not getting anything right now. Let's see. I will say the other AceMagic laptops didn't have the little plastic clips. The bottoms just came off super easy. It was actually kind of a pleasure to work on. I could hear the fan, so I held the power button down until the fans turned off. Now turn it back on, let it reboot, see what happens. Long show today. Okay, trackpad's working. No, trackpad just froze just now. So something is loading, causing that to freeze. Interesting. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Let's turn this back off. The good news is the more I open and close this, the more wear and tear we put on it, the easier it's getting for me. It's not so awkward. And we're really testing those hinges out, you know, among other things like the battery life, as we yet to plug this in during the whole broadcast, which, you know, so far is about pretty good 2.5 hours of heavy usage here. Something's holding that in. Yeah, I'd like to see this design change a little bit. Just think that's a little sloppy. What I want to do is I'm going to take the original drive, put it back in the original slot, but I'll leave this drive in. And I'll go into the boot override and make sure that we boot to the Kingston drive and not the Western Digital. That way I can still speed test this other slot. I will say that definitely fits in the slot. Very strange. I don't know if it's supposed to be that way, but the other side springs up like I expect. Okay. Close the screen each time because when I flip this laptop upside down, I don't want the bare screen on my desk. I don't want to potentially scratch it. All right, let's turn this back on and see what happens here. Hit delete a bunch of times since I don't know which drive the BIOS might boot from. Boot override. Windows Boot Manager on the Kingston. Interestingly, the Western Digital comes up first with the Kingston second. See, so I did have to do the boot overdrive. Now we should be booting to the original drive along with a clone of that in the other M.2 slot, which hopefully won't make things terrible. So this is our original install, which, what, we don't have HDMI now? That's bizarre. It's hearing it. Weird. Well, we're just going to do it this way. See if we can extend the screen. The buttons work now. Let's do it that way. There's this mark 64. So what I want to do is just test the speed of the Western Digital drive in the other slot, just to see if that's going to be the same speed or not. That'll tell me if it's Gen 3 or Gen 4. I could probably also use Crystal Disk Info. Probably be the smarter way to do it. But I like to see the numbers, right? So I want to still see, you know, 6800 coming out of that other slot with the same drive. don't know why I'm not getting any numbers. Not showing. I've never seen it do this before. I'm concerned that that 4 terabyte drive might just be a little too thick, or it might be getting too hot. Something's not right here. We're getting no read. So let me try and see if it appears in this PC. Local disk D, it's there. Windows, you know, it does confuse the system to have 2 drives that are bootable drives. So I'm going to just go and do my command prompt trick here, and we're going to wipe that drive. It's administrator, yes. And I'm going to type in disk part, list disk. It only shows disk 0. It doesn't show a disk 1. That's interesting. So, crystal disk info, just out of curiosity. Crystal disk info. So it shows Gen 4. It does not show a drive D up here, which means either I don't have it plugged in all the way, or the cloned operating system is, we've confused it. So I'm going to do another little fix for that. So we shut this down completely, wait for this to turn off, and I'll show you what my fix is, which is basically we want to take the drive out and reset the drive in the dock. We can't reset it if it's cloned and the system sees a mirror image of the main drive that's bootable with the same system ID. Even though, let me rephrase, we did reinstall Windows, so we're not on the original clone. That should not be the problem now that I'm thinking it through out loud. BIOS saw it. Let's take this drive out. Try something else. Should have some other Gen 4 drive in here somewhere. One that won't be that thick. Just a regular, good old everyday Gen 4 drive. Not so much. You know, I like to have a couple of those Beijing drives just hanging around for just such an occasion. Everything I've got is Gen 3. I do have a Gen 5 drive that'll work. It will work at the slower speed. Do I have a choice? Do I have a choice? These are all Gen 3 drives. Somebody's short on inventory. Somebody needs to go on Amazon and buy some Beijing 2 terabyte drives. I must have 20 boxes of Beijing empty boxes. I don't know why I'm saving them. Gosh, what do I do? Well, I have a 2 terabyte Crucial T700 drive right here. And this is really being saved, obviously, where I can run 12,400 megabytes per second on the reads on a Gen 5. But for testing, for science, I want to see what speeds we get out of this other slot here. I've obviously had this open before. This is being saved for a special project, which is yet to be determined. Some future thing. Once we get settled in Studio C, I'll figure out another build that I'll do with the 13th gen. Probably a 15th gen Intel chip. Good enough. Close enough. Let's see what happens this time. Mustang West said his birthday was August 14th, yesterday. Well, happy birthday to Mustang. Everybody say happy birthday to Mustang West. And remember, if we see Peter Laycock in the room for the next 2 weeks, tell him happy birthday. Even every day for the next 2 weeks. All right, let's see now. This drive, is this drive formatted? I don't know. Disk management. Yeah, I see it down there. Okay, so let's see if this will work. Yay. See, having two operating systems like that, it's, I mean, it would think it would work, but some people dual boot that way. I never have. Let's go to drive D. Still no drive D here, though. Well, that's very interesting. Why do I not see a drive D? If I go to the folders, this PC, it says local disk D. D is not accessible. Ah. Well, let's do disk management. It does see it here. Basic data partition. Let's delete this volume. Wow. We format. Okay, well, maybe it's a Gen 5 compatibility issue. Well, I'm in a pickle now because I don't think I have a Gen 4 drive to try it. The Gen 5 drive should be backwards compatible. And it's weird that we see it here, but it's not reading it correctly. Format did not complete successfully. All right, one other thing is to go back and do the original wipe I was planning to do. Right click and run that as administrator. And then I'll type in disk part. List disk. We should see two of them. We only see one drive. Weird. Should be backwards compatible. I wonder if this is BIOS related. So much for ending the broadcast earlier than expected. It's going to be later than expected because I want to figure out what's going on here. something going on. Something here. Is the drive not installed on it? I mean, it's in there. It's warm. Let's put that back in there for some future puzzle, I guess. Look again. I wonder if I have a Beijing I can steal out of something. Let's see. Let's see. So I've been through this list. I've looked at these already. That's not going to work. 70 Evo is not going to be fast enough. These are Gen 3. These are Gen 3. Those are Gen 3. I have a ton of Gen 3 NVMe drives because they probably were taken out of some builds I upgraded. Why I think I have so many. What to do, what to do. With all the systems mostly moved over to Studio C, I don't have much that I can scavenge from. Let's do this. I have an idea. Let's take a Samsung 970 Evo Gen 3, because that's all I have. And let's just see if it works. Let's just start with that. That's all I got. I got a Gen 3 Samsung 970, 2 terabyte. Let's pop it in here. This might have a Windows version on it. I don't know what's on there. See what happens. At the very least, we should get Gen 3 speeds, and if we run Crystal Disk Info, it should tell us the speed of the drive and the speed of the port, regardless what drive we're using. I'd have to go in the BIOS and tell it which one to boot from, just in case. Let's take a look. Yeah, boot option 1 is the Kingston. Okay, fine. We're fine. Go to HDMI input. No, I don't know why that stopped working. Well, that's fine. What do I look? Let's go to first of all, let's see if we see the drive. And prompt, right click, run as administrator. Yes. Disk part, list disk. Okay, I see disk 0 and disk 1. Disk 0 is our boot drive at 1 gig. Let's select disk 1 and type the word clean. That's going to completely erase disk 1. It's completely wiped out. Now I can go to disk management where it says create and format disk partitions. It's going to say, hey, you have a new drive here. It pops up automatically. And I'll just click OK. Right click on the new drive, new simple volume, next. Take a second to format that. So it'll be one big 2 terabyte empty Samsung 970 EVO. Now there's no point going to Crystal Disk Mark, because we're only going to see Gen 3 speeds, right? So that doesn't tell me if it's a Gen 4 slot or not. So we'll bring up Crystal Disk Info instead. Now it should report to us what each drive is. So the Kingston shows it's Gen 4 and a 4x4 slot. And drive D is the transfer mode PCIe 3. Does that mean that's Gen 3? I don't know why this stopped working. There. And I feel like that worked that time. Let's see. Yeah. So I see transfer mode 3 by PCI 3. Transfer mode over here shows 4. Current mode and supported mode. Current mode is 4, supported mode is 4. And here it says current mode is 3, supported mode is 3. That means if we run Crystal Disk Mark, we should see about 3,600 megabytes per second out of drive D. Only at 3,000, a little lower than I expected. Interesting. So it may be one Gen 4 slot and the other's a Gen 3 slot. We certainly have seen motherboards that we've run on systems we built that had one Gen 4 slot and then other Gen 3, the other slots were Gen 3. We see that right now with Gen 5, where only one slot is Gen 5 and the others are Gen 4. Without any official technical information from AceMagic, we're just kind of figuring all this out and making some conclusions based on our testing, which may not be 100% accurate. But at least based on the sample model they sent me, it looks like we've got one Gen 3 slot, one Gen 4 slot. Putting a 4 terabyte drive in there is possible, but you could have heat-related issues, and I want you to keep that in mind. Generally speaking, you should not be. It's just a bad habit to be storing a bunch of data on a computer. It's just a bad idea. It's a lot to back up. It takes more time. You're less likely to do it because it takes so much time. You're much better off moving any data to external storage devices, whether that's an external USB drive or a network attached storage drive, something that is designed to hold the data that gets it off of the computer that's vulnerable to bad Windows updates, viruses, ransomware, Trojans, pop-ups, unwanted software, and spying. All that stuff are all the reasons why you should not try and cram all your stuff in your machine. Try and keep just your programs and your operating system and the stuff you use regularly on the machine. When you're done using it regularly, whatever it is, it could be, maybe you're a photographer, okay, and you take a bunch of pictures. You copy those pictures off the camera onto your computer. You edit and sort and delete through those pictures. At some point, you're going to be done with that particular round of photos. You're done, at least for now. Take them off of the computer, put them on external storage, put them on a network attached storage, USB storage, get it off the machine. You can leave it on the machine as well, but then if you start running out of space, it's pointless to have this space taken up. It's taken up with stuff you don't use daily. And it's a lot you can lose. So by moving it to external storage, especially if you have a decent USB drive that's pretty quick and USB ports that are pretty quick, it's not that big of a deal to move it off. For me, having it on a network and having a network attached storage device, you don't even need to spend a lot of money to do that. Hold on, I just put myself in a, what did I just do? Okay. Having a US, if you have a modern day router, check the back of your router and see if it has a USB port on it. If it does, that means likely you can plug a printer in there to share with everybody on the network, or you can plug, in many cases, a USB drive back behind into the router. And then you have to go into the router settings to share that. It's pretty simple. It varies depending on the model of router, but once you go in there, you'll see it. And if you need walkthrough instructions, you type in the make and model of your router into Google along with the word USB drive. And there'll be documentation somebody's written or videos somebody's made. Then you can see it on the network, just like a network attached storage drive. Then when you're traveling and you need access to it, you can configure your own cloud if you want to. I don't, but you could if you choose to. Get it off the machine. Stop trying to cram so much stuff in this one box, and then you become dependent on it like it's a pacemaker. Try to be less dependent on an individual machine. Make it so that if the machine dies or anything happens to it, you can go to another machine and get back up and running quickly. Or if the drive dies, you don't lose all your data and panic and have to go to data recovery services. When you move your data to an external drive, just make sure that you make a duplicate copy of anything important. So you don't want any data sitting on one drive. You want the important data sitting on 2 or more drives at the same time. So I usually rotate backups. I'll plug in a USB drive to do a backup 1 week, plug in a different USB drive to do the backup the next week, rotate them around. One customer of mine has 6 drives. So every time I do a backup, the last time the drive had data was 6 weeks ago. So the backups take a bit longer because there's 6 weeks of changes. But what's good about that is if we find out we accidentally deleted a directory and we need it, we find out 4 weeks from now. On a weekly but rotating backup with just 2 drives, you've already erased it off the backup. If we kept everything, we'd run out of space on the backup. What choice do we have here? If we keep all the versions, eventually run out of space. So we can go back up to 6 weeks. That's why we did that. So if we find out there was a mistake up to a month and a half ago, we can go to the oldest backup and pull that data back. That's the trampoline. That's the safety net. It's thinking like when people are on a trampoline, they usually swing over a net. So if they slip and fall, regardless of how experienced they are, it happens. They don't hit the ground, they hit the net. Okay, so your backups and external drives are your safety nets. Keep your data off your machine. I don't care if it's a desktop and if you've loaded it with a bunch of drives, how often are you really using those drives? Come on. If you've got 3 or 4 drives in your desktop, there's probably 2 or 3 of them you haven't actually activated or looked at for weeks. It's just like, it's a comfort thing. It's an emotional thing. Get that data off the machine. Pull that drive out. Stop being so tempted to use it. Or pull the drive out and put it into a USB dock. Then you don't have to copy anything. Your data will be safer without being on a drive that's being powered on and off and used back intermittently throughout the day, week after week, month after month. When it's just a drive you're not using, it's still powering up, it's still being pulled by Windows. Hey, are you there? Yes, I'm here. That's all happening in the background, whether you actually click on it or not. And over time, it will fail. USB drives, you plug them in when you need them, unplug them when you're done. Don't leave a USB drive plugged in. If you're not using it, unplug it. Or if everything on the USB drive is a backup, then you can leave it plugged in. But you're just adding wear and tear unnecessarily. You're just going to cause it to fail sooner if you do that. If you're not using it, unplug it. All right, guys. Well, the final numbers here, just to share those with you. That's what we got on our Samsung 970 EVO. And it's a bit slower than the stock drive that comes with the Kingston, that's Gen 4, right? Which we looked at earlier in today's broadcast. Let's close this out. One more time, we'll take a look at the system properties. You notice it's not blue screening on the other drive and the other install. So we definitely have some drivers here that were going to be necessary if you need to do a clean install. You should be aware of that if you decide to buy one of these. The other thing you can do is you could use a tool like Acronis to make an image backup of the device. So if you ever have to restore it, you simply restore from Acronis backup versus doing a clean install, which takes forever with all the drivers and software that's needed for a machine with 2 monitors like this. Let me go back to camera 1. A shout out and a thank you to our friends at Acronis. And as a reminder, 30% off the Acronis backup, cloning and imaging and backup software for everybody that's watching. Our friends at RoboForm, which is password management software I did not use today, but I use it on my main machine all the time. When I say my main machine, I'm not pointing at this. This is not a machine I use for anything other than streaming. I don't stand here and work with a monitor 10 feet away. I have a machine in the back. That's my main machine, and I use RoboForm on that every single day. I use Acronis to image it, so in case anything happens, I can put it back easily. And then, of course, our friends at VIP CDK deals, where you can get a discount, significant discount on Windows license keys and Microsoft Office license keys that is fully legal, legit, and about 90% off Microsoft's suggested retail price. That's a significant discount. Everything's guaranteed. Everybody has great customer service, free trials of everything. Try before you buy, decide for yourself, and then look here on the channel for walkthroughs. If you want to learn more about RoboForm or Acronis, we have dedicated videos walking you through what they do, how they work, and figure out how you've ever lived without them, quite frankly. There was one other thing I wanted to cover. Oh, did we want to check activation status on this? I'm sure it's fine because it's the original drive put back in it. Let's go back over to the HDMI. So while I'm in the system settings, I just start typing the word activation, and I got about 5 letters in, and all these suggestions popped up. I'll select see if Windows is activated, and the activation state is active. Okay. All right, I think that's it for today. Let me go back over to camera 1. I am hungry. I need to eat. We went about an hour over today, so thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks to the folks at AceMagic to send us this so we can get an early look at it. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that AceMagic is really delivering to give you a reason, right? To give them another shot because they learned a lesson. Well, we think they did. This came up clean, no issues. I want to reiterate that. It was not malicious. It was without their knowledge. Now that they knew about it, they fixed it. So I don't have any hesitation in recommending them. I know many of my viewers have some of the AceMagic mini PCs, and I know we had at least one fail, but that happens. The question is, the circumstances under which it failed could have been a power spike. We don't know. But I will say that overall, people are very happy with them, and they're priced very competitively. If you want all the hand-holding and support that the big brand names offer you, like Asus has a much more expensive mini PC and more expensive laptops, and a result of that added expense is on the support side of things. So if we're cutting the support, we're limiting it to being very minimal, is what I want to say. As far as I know, all of AceMagic's support is in China. So if you send them an email for help, I think it's going to be the next day before you get a response. There is a certain level of customer service that comes with how much you're spending. When I had a BMW and I took it to the dealer for service, I was treated like royalty every time. When I had a Hyundai and I took it in for service, there was one time I took it in where there was nobody to greet me. The whole service bay was vacant. Not a single advisor, nobody. I'm like, do I stay in the car and wait for somebody to acknowledge I exist? I ended up getting out of the car, leaving it parked in the service bay, walking into the dealership, nobody in the dealership but a receptionist. It's like, it's closed, or, oh no, I'll get somebody. She gets on the walkie-talkie thing and Eventually, a service advisor came out and greeted me. Which car was more money? What kind of service did I get with the cheaper car? So I will say, anytime I've reached out to AceMagic support, they always respond. But there is a significant time difference between the US and China. As far as I know, they don't have a US localized support. If they did, it would cost more, right? Then you have to raise the price of the laptops or the price of everything to just trying to set your expectations. This goes for any brand that you're buying out of the country. If they don't have a US headquarters, they're all going to be kind of the same. Some may not respond at all. We won't talk about those companies. Overall, I want you to know, I think buying an AceMagic machine right now is a really good bargain because they are working very hard to earn back your trust. So this is like buying when the stock is low, as far as I'm concerned. You know, if you're on Wall Street, buy low, sell high. If everything goes well for AceMagic and they don't make another mistake like that, they could become a household name in time. And that would make their brand more valuable. And then you'll say, remember back in the day when these were really, really cheap compared to competitors? Well, this is back in the day right now. You're living in it. And if you end up buying or have purchased any AceMagic or AceMagician or Camrui products, please feel free to share your experience, your real life experience, not somebody else's, your actual experience, good or bad, whether or not you would recommend the product in the comments below the video. I'd like to hear from real people who've actually made the sacrifice, not somebody you know or not something you read on Reddit. You personally, that's who I want to hear from. Thanks you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks to AceMagic. Thank you, Marlena, for all the work she's doing in the background and the video notes and the thumbnails, keeping her busy. And thanks to all of the members, a shout out especially to Peter Laycock, Buster, Frankie B, and Oystein. These guys are amazing. And all of you are fantastic. Thank you so much. It was a nice chat room today. I was very cautious to open it up to everybody, but everybody's been respectful and there's been a proper decorum, which seems pretty rare. So thank you all for being a great group of people and not causing disruption. It really throws me off my game when people do that. And if this could be the new normal, we can open the chat up again. But it just takes one person to ruin it all. All right. So in the meantime, for all the members, the chat's always open for members regardless. Thank you to all the members for making these videos even possible now. That'll wrap it up for me for today. I will see you all again tomorrow. We always do a video live every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I think I'm doing a build, or maybe I'm doing a Synology review. What do you want to see? Synology 923 NAS with a 10 gig Ethernet port? Or a flashy build in a tower computer case? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you all tomorrow. Until next time, bye for now.